It is so easy to get stuck in boxes and little patterns on the fingerboard. And in this video, I'm going to give you a few different ways of practicing the major scale that will hopefully help you break out of that. Let's get to it. Hey, John here with the Blues Guitar Institute, and this is your Tuesday Blues, where we take cool acoustic blues lessons. We break them down into straightforward, no frills lessons because it's really all about you playing the music that you love, and that's what we try to do here every single Tuesday. And what we're going to do today is focus on the major scale. You can apply this to any scale, but the real point is I don't want you to get stuck in these fingerboard ruts. I don't want you to just be able to play the scale like this and nowhere else. You've got to realize that the scale exists all over the fretboard, and the more that you are comfortable playing the scale in different positions and starting from different notes and moving in different directions, the easier you'll be able to make music with the actual scale. Let's get started by talking about my absolute favorite way to practice the major scale. It's got real benefits baked right into it, and I'm talking about playing up and down one string. I've said this before, and it's because I believe in it so much. If you're not doing this, you've definitely got to practice your scales on one string. Take the A major scale, for example. We can play it very easily up and down the 5th string because it's tuned to A. So our open is A, and move up to our B, and then up to our C sharp. And let's just pause right there, because what you're really doing is you're teaching your eye where those intervals are, okay? So you're visualizing the scale. Something that can get a little bit lost if you're just playing up in a box pattern of sorts. So going back to A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. You can kind of feel where the half steps are. You can feel where the whole steps are. And it will get you moving up and down the neck and not just across it, okay? That's important as well. So I don't want to minimize the importance of knowing these box patterns, but that should not be the only thing that you know. Now, another way that really kind of helps to break some of these patterns in our fingering and even in our ear is to play the scale, but do it in groups of 3 notes, for instance. You could do it with groups of 3, 4, 5, but let's start with a 3 group. We can play up this scale. Everything is going in the general order of the scale. In our case, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, okay? Now, what we want to do is play up 3 notes before going to the second, and then starting another group starting on our, in this case, the B note, and then moving up from B to C sharp to D. All right, so that looks like this. Here's the first group. Then the second group starts from the second note of the scale. Then the third group starts from the third. Then the fourth. Then the fifth. Then the sixth. And we can really stop there. You could expand this into a 2-octave form from here and keep that going. But let's listen to this just playing it straight through without the pause and without the instruction. Then of course you can reverse it. Now, it's important to note that you don't want to create a new pattern out of that. So practice your 3s, get comfortable with it, and then maybe move on to groups of 4 or groups of 5, okay? That odd number really does something for jolting you out of the fretboard patterns that maybe you're used to, something like this simple major scale pattern. Now, here's another idea for you. If you're used to playing in this, box pattern for your major scale, try playing 2 notes per string. Notice that we start out with 2 notes per string here, but then we very quickly move into 3 notes per string. But let's just strictly play 2 notes per string and watch what happens. We can go this way, starting from our A up to the B. There's our C sharp, D, moving to the 4th string, E to F sharp, G sharp, A. So we've kind of crawled back that way. Certainly gets you out of this particular position. let's keep it strictly to 3 notes per string. And this works really well when you're covering 2 octaves. So we're going to do that right here. We'll start here on the A, and we're still dealing with the same notes, right? A, B, C sharp, all on the 6th string. Then D, E, F sharp. All right, so that's this kind of pattern. We're skipping a fret each time, then dropping a string and doing it again. And then here, here, and finally to end out the scale on our 2nd octave there. Here's the scale, 2 octaves. All right, a couple of notes before we leave this 3 note per string idea, and this can be challenging, the stretch between here and here, the middle finger and the little finger. My tip for you is to move this up, and maybe don't try learning the 3 note per string and getting it solid in A. Try moving up to, say, D, around the 10th fret. Because the frets are smaller, the distance between the same number of frets is smaller as you move up the fretboard. So see if you can't nail it there. And as you get that down, then drop down a fret. And you're going to find a spot where it just becomes impossible. And I would say move back up a fret to where you can still nail it and practice there. Go to the woodshed there and really work on getting that stretch, and then try going back down and down again and down again. Over time, you'll build up the hand's ability to stretch. Clearly, if it hurts, if there's pain in the hands, then you want to stop. You don't want to injure yourself and cause you to not play for a few days, or even something worse. So that's my word of caution there with anything that involves some serious stretching. This final exercise that I've got for you is going to be a fun one. I'm going to ditch the pick and I'm going to thump out an A dead bass here, and we're going to improvise on the 3rd string in the key of A, so our A major scale. All right, but we're going to play in a musical way. We're going to improvise a melody. And I'm going to stay on the 3rd string. Maybe we'll grab a note or 2 from the 2nd string. But here's the hitch. I want you to restrict the notes that you play to no more than 2 in a row from the scale. So what I mean by that is, if you play A, you can either move to B, or you could drop down to your G sharp. Either is fine, but what you don't want to do is then add the very next note to that. So you don't want to go A, B, C sharp all in a row. You start to sound like you're playing from the scale. We could go A, C sharp, B, like that, but we can't go A, B, C sharp, okay? So let's improvise around and listen, because what you're going to hear is some different interval jumps where maybe you would have done this. We can't do that because we hit too many notes all in a row right there. All right, let's see what we can do with this. All right, and you could go on and you could take that in a bunch of different directions, and of course feel free to expand to different strings, but just to keep this super focused and really pay attention to the intervals, start out by trying to just solo, improvise a little melody, something that you make up pretty much on the spot, and make sure that you don't play more than 2 consecutive notes in the scale. You'll find yourself having to hunt real quick for a note that's not right next to the one that you're on. That's going to get your hand jumping around the fretboard a little bit and get your ear kind of listening for different intervals that you might not be expecting if you're used to just playing your solos like this in order up and down. So give these things a try and let me know if it helps. I definitely want to hear from you in the comments below. And by the way, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel here, go ahead and hit the red subscribe button. That really shows some support for the channel, keeps these free lessons coming out every single Tuesday. And I'll be back here next Tuesday for another lesson. Until then, practice smart and play on.